You're busy, you've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices with Vicki McManus-Peterson and Dr. Chad Johnson.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday Practices, another podcast. This is Chad Johnson, and we're here with Vicki McManus-Peterson. Vicki, hi, how are you?
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Good. So today we have Dr. Lipscomb from Virginia today. So Jason, how are you doing today?
What an introduction. I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing all right. So one of the things that our guests needs to know about you, if they don't already, is the dental hacks. I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, the big production. I don't know if we'd call it, because you've got Dental Hacks Academy, you've got the podcast, you've got the Facebook page, you've got. Does it end there? What am I missing?
Dental Hacks Worldwide.
Worldwide, yes. Harpo production. No.
Wait, do you have your own fleet of planes? Because I want to ride.
I do. They're all made of paper right now, but they're impressive. They're well designed.
So just to be transparent for our listeners, Jason and I were going for a couple minutes and I realized I hadn't hit record. So I'm just admitting that to you, but we were talking about, so we need to catch you up. We were talking about Voices of Dentistry, and I was able to attend this last year, and it's at the end of each January is kind of when you guys are parking that into the schedule, right?
Correct. Yeah, we don't want to compete with that big football game around that time. It's
good call. The Iowa State football game. Of course, sorry, I'm from Iowa. That's our big Super Bowl for those that don't know and shouldn't know. But Iowa State is a huge football game to us. It seems like it's just as big as the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's kind of just this in-state rivalry. But it's different than other in-state rivalries in that we don't have any professional teams. So it actually is the biggest sports deal of the year. So as opposed to just being like, yeah, it's Georgia Tech or something like that, or Virginia Tech.
So do you celebrate at the Corn Palace after you win?
No, because technically that's South Dakota, right?
I know. I got
it. But, maybe we should. But, corn is like it also kind of harkens to Nebraska, and we don't want to, so we
go
do
there. I got you.
Corn, but so Jason, tell me this last year at Voices of Dentistry, what impressed you the most, and what year is this of Voices of Dentistry that we just completed?
This that was the third year, so they'll have the fourth annual upcoming
for 2020.
Yeah, the first one we had in Nashville, and it was pretty interesting, but we've gotten better and kind of figured some things out over time.
Right.
So we're gonna keep on improving it year over year. At least that's what we tell ourselves.
Of course, and it sure seems to have. So what was the most impressive part about this last year?
I kind of just get excited about seeing people. You develop a lot of friends on Facebook over time, and these groups that we hang out in. And a lot of times you don't get to see these people in person all that often. So it seems to be the one meeting where a lot of these people come together, and you get to see a lot of familiar names and put those with the faces, and just getting to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying before that, you just realize how smart a lot of these people are, and how interesting some of the stuff that they're doing. And like Corey and Barron, 3D printing and 3D printing dentures, and then Danny Domain with all the implant stuff and grafting he's doing, just
with ear grafts and ear attachments for ear implants. That's ridiculous. We're here, some people are learning about dental implants, and he's like, yeah, I'm dropping dental implants into the mastoid process. It's like, what in the world?
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, just kind of every day. NBD, no big deal.
So yeah, it's just cool that it just amazes me that we have such a good group, a close inner circle of these just super smart people, super funny people, super nice people, and just get them all in one place. And you just can't ask for anything better than that. It's really cool.
Vicki, to you, why was it important for Productive Dentist Academy to help sponsor VOD?
We've been there since the beginning. Thank you, Jason and Alan Mead and Mark Costas. You guys embraced us coming in. And what I love about it is because you can see that it is the next generation of leadership gathering together. And Jason, doesn't it feels like a hive, like the bees are coming in and the honey. It's just filled with goodness.
I like that analogy.
Right. And so it's a great place for us to hang out. We're more mid-tier doctor. So like after you've been in practice 5 or 6 years and you kind of got steady, that's where Productive Dentist Academy has typically been engaged or invited into practices. And what we're finding more and more is that younger and younger doctors are needing some of the fundamentals. So it's a blessing that we keep getting invited back. We try to get kicked out, but Jason and but I think as long as Justin Moody's drinking tequila, we'll probably, pass the bar here.
Now, you've had some tough questions over the years at VOD, so you've hung
I know. I don't think I'm getting interviewed this next year, which will be great. But tell us this, Jason. I mean, you span the social media circuit. I mean, you're so hands-on. I listen to what you teach, and I'm thinking to myself, like 2/3 of the people that are listening to you, there's just no way they're going to be able to do this because you make it all sound like I just designed this, sent it to Vistaprint, blah, 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 got, Camtasia, created my videos, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're like the master of it. And one thing Chad and I love to do is find those little nuggets, those everyday practices that everybody could be doing, should be doing to improve their practice or improve their life. And I know you're chock full of those. So what are some of your top tips, your 1, 2, 3 everyday practices? Like, man, I wouldn't give this up. This is what helps keep me humming.
I will put a little plug in there if that's okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I use amalgam. I use amalgam. That's and
if any ADA people are listening, amalgam is A-OK.
Okay.
All right. So back to you. Sorry to interrupt.
especially in the interior.
Yes, that's right.
But we recently, a couple months ago, started Dental Hacks Academy.
Yes.
And my whole goal, and even in my early speaking, I was terrible at making money off selling products. So I would go out and talk about social media and teach people, and they would say, oh, okay, that's great. Like Vicki said, you taught me about this. Now, are you going to go do it for me? And I say, no, I can't. I don't have anything to sell you, anything to give you.
That's right.
Along the way. So I was very bad at making money. I still am in that aspect. But we developed, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and I was in a large Facebook group that was talking about developing Facebook ads for people that weren't dentists. And a lot of times that's where I get these great pearls from these people that are actually doing it and then try to apply it to the world of dentistry. And I saw some people in there that were teaching about Google ads. And I hadn't done that much with it myself in the past couple of years. And they had an online portal that they had created, and I approached them and asked them to make something similar for dentists. So they helped us create Dental Hacks Academy. And so it's an online learning portal to learn Google ads, Facebook ads, landing pages, and all the good stuff to make your marketing effective. And I'm actually going through it myself, even though I'm kind of one of the people kind of putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through the Google ads lessons myself for my own practice.
Oh, that's awesome.
To learn how to do it, and kind of finding out that, there are some things that you can do with Google ads and some of this advertising where you don't need to hire somebody right away, that you can get started on it.
Vicki, I don't know if you remember in Jason's presentation at Voices of Dentistry about hyper-focusing by selecting which areas you don't want to advertise. Therefore, you can make shape that you want around the places that you do want to advertise. And I thought that's clever. And I brought that up with a couple of people too. And they were like, really? That was clever. You come up with that yourself, Jason?
Oh God, no. Yeah. Everything in marketing is a remix. So if somebody's teaching marketing right now, somebody else has figured it out. And we're doing that right now too with, we were talking to somebody about sleep apnea marketing, so taking some of these ads, putting a hyper focus on one particular part of town, say a retirement community, where everybody living in that community is a little bit older, more likely to have the symptoms of sleep apnea or had previous treatment for sleep apnea. So you can drop a Facebook ad or a Google ad right on top of their neighborhood and just hit them hard. Or if you're, I'm going to be opening up another office in July, and it's right next to a bunch of new neighborhoods. So somebody like that, you're going to be taking these hyper-focused ads, put them right on top of these people, and just send the right type of advertisement, cutting your costs in the advertising because you're not trying to advertise everybody else that doesn't matter. And just putting, for advertising to work, people have to see this content over and over and over again. So you have this small group that you can just nail them with advertising and hopefully get your message across.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on your new office.
Yeah, it's not built yet, so
here in the hard part. I'll tell you what.
Quit.
We've worked with a couple of dentists who, were opening up in new communities like that, and they were kind of first to market. And what's so cool about those neighborhoods, and I never would have thought about this, I think Tim Rao gave us this idea, was Boy Scouts and door hangers is like so dirt cheap to print door hangers, and he did it as a fundraiser, and he paid the Boy Scouts to go door to door and just put it on there. It's the biggest ROI I've ever seen from a marketing piece, like a solo marketing piece. So like once a month, he'd send the Boy Scouts out there because the neighborhoods are easy, right? They can get on their skateboards, zip down the sidewalks. The trees haven't uprooted half the concrete. And it worked actually better than mailers. And the neighbors would see the little Boy Scouts canvassing and wonder what they were up to. So everybody checked their doorknobs. It was really, I don't know if that really helped you or not, but I love fresh neighborhoods for those kind of things.
And I talked to somebody in marketing, and they said, the thing about marketing is when you spend on marketing, half that money is probably wasted. It's just figuring out which half. Yeah. So I was going to ask you your ROI that you're getting on these targeted campaigns. Are you tracking that? What pops quick? What takes a little longer to get going? It really depends. And even watching some of these people that are experts in marketing, sometimes they're surprised by some stuff that clicks. And what a lot of these people are doing is they're putting out hundreds of different variations on their marketing. So if they do a Facebook ad, they'll do 30 varieties. They'll change the picture, change the ad copy, change the wording, change the keywords. And what they're really doing is makes them successful is they're observing what's clicking, and they're following up on that stuff that's clicking, turning off everything else, and then taking the ball and running with it. And that's what a lot of dentists or a lot of smaller people like us are not doing. We're floating one ad out there, hoping it works. If it doesn't work, we get crestfallen and we quit. If it does work, we think we can get lightning in a bottle the second time and just use that same ad. And that's not always the case. So
you're going to have me check back in with our marketing group. I know that we have 2 pay-per-click specialists that do Google ads and social media ads. And I know that they're checking. I don't think they run hundreds of variations. I think we probably run 5 variations at a time, and, keying in on different properties, different keywords, different messaging, subject lines, and landing pages. So I'm going to go back and check with them and see how they cycle through that. But because I know it's not a set it and done kind of thing. It definitely takes monitoring and adoption, as you're saying, just really adapting to what people are asking for and looking for. So you bring up a great point on that. I wish the ads were like set it and done, like you used to do the newspaper ads. You could run the same ad every week forever.
Well, you gotta imagine the consumer these days, because they're bombarded by so much stuff from mailers to God. We just get advertisements all the time and everywhere we go. So it's even within the social media, it's evolving, because some of the stuff that worked a year ago ain't going to happen this time around. So
you're a really funny guy. Do you do funny ads? Does humor work in your area?
I try to. Sometimes I kind of step beyond what I probably should have done. I actually put out an ad recently, and actually this one, Facebook had a relevance score recently to kind of show you how effective your ad was, and they recently got rid of it. But the ad that that had the highest relevance score that I've ever had was just a picture of me that I took on my phone, smiling in front of my sign with my thumb up. And I made an ad of it, and I put a nice little bit of copy in there about how I grew up in town, and my grandmother grew up half a mile from my office. And that, for some reason, that ad just took off and had tons of shares and likes and comments. And evidently, going back and looking at some of the stuff that the other advertisers are saying, that, you know, people are actually attracted to pictures that look like they could be your friend on Facebook. They're not looking for the polished stuff. They're looking for like the more like realistic stuff.
Real,
They're more
authentic.
like on that. And since then, I've done a couple more that'll like that haven't got that much success. But I had a picture. We were taking pictures for the office, and I had bought a big, huge toothbrush, like an oversized toothbrush, like 4 feet long. So my wife came with me that day, and I was walking down the sidewalk with this big toothbrush over my shoulder. So I made sure that she got pictures of me walking in downtown Richmond with this big toothbrush over my shoulder. And actually, the one of the bus drivers came by and was like, "Woo, woo! Look at that toothbrush!" So she didn't catch that. I wish she had caught that on tape, but it was just kind of funny to see some knucklehead walking down the sidewalk with a big toothbrush. So,
Yeah. Oh,
and you incorporated that into your website.
Oh yeah. It's I've got pictures. My friend's a photographer, so he took like these really stylized pictures. It looks like I'm saving the world with my big toothbrush in the city. So,
our phone cameras are so good now. Yeah. I love portrait mode too. Oh my God, I love portrait mode.
That's portrait mode. You can actually incorporate that into Facebook posts. You can put a 3D picture on your Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So when they scroll up and down on Facebook, it makes the picture move.
No way.
Yeah, and so that way people pay attention more, right?
Yeah. So
how do you do that?
You go on your page, you click a post, and there should be, so you click on what type of post you're going to do. And there's a drop down and it says 3D photo down near the bottom. And they're actually going to let you put those in ads coming up. So before they've just been for posts, but now they're going to let you put those in Facebook ads coming out soon. So that's going to be the next thing you're going to see. You're going to see these Facebook ads that are popping off the page.
I'm sorry, Jason, you've got my mind going in this really weird place that Chad and I should go to a pig farm, since we have a pig as a mascot on Everyday Practices, do a photo shoot, and then like pop that into 3D.
Baby pig wrestling. I mean, that's a thing.
We'll do
that right after we do the goat yoga. We'll do goat yoga and baby pig wrestling. Jason, I think we're discovering today
going on.
I was going to bring up that they lube the pigs, but you know that might I'm sorry, it just might start to get a little weird, but it's true.
Kind of pig.
Jason, I think you're teaching us today that there is a lot of room for humor in dentistry, and sometimes, you know, one of the best everyday practices you can do is just stop taking yourself so seriously and laugh for a minute.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And people appreciate that. It makes you more approachable, and, you know, it's a fine balance to come off professional and kind of a sense of humor, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta roll with it.
How do you bring that? You've got 3 practices now and opening your 4th. Is that right?
Got sold one last year, so I've got two smaller practices, and then I'll opening up a 3rd.
Okay.
I just had a spot of town that I've been eyeing for years, and finally something popped up, and so it's time to go.
So tell us about your leadership style. How do you lead and manage this? Because there's a lot of listeners going, man, I got enough with 1 practice. Why would I have 3?
I'm probably the most unlikely person to formulate this type of business. I'm a self-diagnosed introvert, terribly so. You know, that's one of the things that we did some personality testing in the office several years ago, and I kind of had an aha moment where, you know, I could kind of see some of the places where I was lacking in my leadership. And I don't think I really would have been able to diagnose what was going wrong in there until somebody kind of put their finger on it and said, you know, you're this type of person. And this is why you act like this. This is why you do this. This is why you get upset about this. And you look back and say, oh, you know, that's 100% true. and sometimes if you don't know it's a problem, you can't really fix it. So in that, I wouldn't say I'm the best leader in the world. I'm obviously a creative person and like the challenge of things, but then when it gets to the mundane stuff, the running, the practice, that's when stuff falls off, and it probably happens like that for a lot of dentists out there. So I can definitely identify. Right,
you must have somebody that you really trust with the details.
Yeah, and somebody like me needs somebody with details. So that's kind of assessing my personality. I need somebody that I can say, okay, here's our grand vision. Now we need to execute it, and you're going to be the one to help us execute it. And you've got this set of skills that can make this happen. So right now we're trying to formulate a team, get the right people on the bus. So we've got a great office manager that we've hired. That she's helping us out, and right now, to be honest, we're looking for ways. She's been an office manager, and she's going to eventually turn into kind of a regional manager when these other offices get going at the same time, and kind of figuring out how to transition her into that role and what's the appropriate type of education that she would need.
I was going to say, where would you find to educate someone like that in dentistry?
Well, there's this place called the Productive Dental Academy that would probably
Well, we do have like location office manager programs, and I'm asking sincerely because more and more of our doctors are just like you, and they've got multiple doctors, they've got multiple locations. They're still not in the true DSO model. They're more in the small group model, and we're looking at developing programs like that because I'm looking around and I don't see much because it requires a lot of human resource management training and systems training and metrics training. So I'm just wondering if there's a need for that in our industry.
Sure, yeah. And I took the Henry Schein Dental Business Institute about 2 years ago. And a lot of that, obviously, they're going to have some stuff in there that's kind of for their benefit. But there was a lot of stuff in there about teaching dentists to outsource. And I think there's a lot of different facilities out there that you can outsource things to, like call centers and your human resources and really getting dentists. A lot of businesses, evidently outside of dentistry, do outsource a lot of this stuff and have these other contractors that they bring on to take care of this portion of the business. And so I think it was kind of teaching dentists that, it is okay to outsource some of these things. And there are people out there that can.
I want to keep you on the hot seat on this one just because this is so much fun for me, Chad. I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but Jason and Alan have had me in the hot seat so many times.
I see.
Oh.
Are you going to make me cry like Barbara Walters?
I don't think so. But so what's your opinion on insourcing, outsourcing? Is it better to have your team answer the call? Is it better to outsource? Is there no clear-cut answer? Like, I have like this life cycle, in my mindset about where it's appropriate, not appropriate. So tell me, what's your opinion? Off your lips, what is it?
Lips.
From your lips to God's ears, should we outsource?
That's my new motto: from J lips to God's ears. It's obviously you've got to do kind of an autopsy on your practice. Well, not an autopsy, I guess.
Maybe
you're still alive. I mean,
Let's go back to the leadership.
The practice might not.
So, and you've obviously a lot of dentists and myself included don't really know their numbers, don't really know their true overhead, don't really know a lot of the information about their practice. So that's super important.
That's kind of like step one.
How do you track your stats?
I have a beautiful mind, and I just kind of keep.
Okay, so you do it by yourself.
Yeah. So right now I do it by myself. I don't have practice by numbers or any of the other programs. I've looked at them in the past, but the way my brain works, I like to have my own little spreadsheets that I keep control over.
Don't listen to that, Chad. Don't listen to that, Chad. Don't listen to that.
I'm a fellow Excel fan, but I do outsource that myself. Speaking of outsourcing, but
So, I mean, obviously there's some great people out there who can help outsource for that and kind of keep track of that and kind of knowing your KPIs, and there are people that can help do that. But knowing what team members you have and how much your team members cost. So, for instance, in my practice, we were kind of shorthanded up front, and we were trying to find an insurance coordinator. So we outsourced our insurance verification through a company called MeduSend. And I know there's a couple other companies out there, and it's cost us about $1,500 a month. And they do all our insurance verifications. They have other services, but we're kind of keeping them on the base level. And we were noticing that our team was having to get on the phone forever with these insurance companies, and it was just taking up a lot of time. So we felt it appropriate for us to use that service. And when you really sit down and look at how much that costs versus how much that would cost if we were to hire somebody and bring them in for that position, you really come out okay and come out ahead of it. And so it just frees our ops manager and our people to be able to do other stuff. We're using HR for Health right now for our human resources. So that kind of seems like a hidden benefit. You don't really appreciate it until you really need it. So that's been helpful in some things. I've used some call centers in the past when we've been short, and that's been pretty helpful. I would probably at this point in my career, I would use either somebody that was a little bit more advanced in HR, being able to find the right personnel and train the right personnel in a 3-practice scenario, and possibly even be able to use a call center again to kind of supplement some of those areas where we might be shorthanded, kind of developing these 3 practices right now. But there's a lot of different things that you can then outsource, and a lot of doctors don't think they can or they should.
Yeah.
And
well,
really
with my little network in Wisconsin, I was finding similar things. I was finding that it was really helpful, and I actually insourced. What we did was we hired a wonderful lady who was really curious. She was outgoing. She had a great personality. She never, met a stranger. And we put her on reactivation because hygiene schedules weren't staying full. And of course, there's supposed to be somebody at the office who does this or that. And so she immediately got familiar with everything. She was doing reactivation calls, filling up hygiene. Then we noticed that we weren't catching all the new patient calls. So we sent overflow to her, and she started scheduling new patients and really was a support. And I think she was supporting 4 offices. And so that worked great. We had 1 full-time person. She supported 4 offices with confirmations, with reactivation, and with overflow new patient scheduling. And I'll tell you, it did 2 things. Number 1, it helped fill the schedule, which I was pleased with. And number 2, it held the location managers to a much higher standard. So if you do delegate that to someone, if you're listening to this going, oh, that's a great idea, let them know that your administrators will probably be a little ticked off in the beginning, because they're like, oh, well, she put this person in that block, and who is she? And she's not here. And it's like, well, it was templated to go in that block. And so what we discovered was that the schedulers, of course, were all best buddies with the hygienist and others. And they had like these little 20-minute breaks 3 times a day in their schedules where they would hold off and not put, so that the hygienist could rest or write notes or sterilize their instruments. And it was costing us like 9 hours a week. And so when we outsourced, we found those things and went, no, this is really not how we do it. So I think outsourcing, having an outsourced set of eyes, if they're well trained and they're really connected in your office, can be invaluable. But it's like you say, am I replacing someone in this role? Or am I doing it to help grow beyond where my current team is, and I need like that part-time fractional support to grow to the next level? But it's really tough if you're a small team with and I think if you're scratch start, man, it's almost mandatory, right? Because you can't have one, you can only afford one front office person, and they're not going to schedule and collect and process and resubmit. Not very well, or not without working 100 hours a week.
And I'm very good at the scarcity mindset. So I mean, we kind of
Nice.
I'm in a reactionary phase where I can't really hire somebody, and sometimes to be able to step to that next level, you may have to have a little bit of a pain point and hire that person. And that's kind of where I am right now, where I'm thinking, hey, if we want to grow here, I've got to have this person, I've got to have this resource in the office. So, I might have a little bit of a squeeze here at the beginning, but it's what it's going to take to get to that next level. And sometimes that is a little bit of a pain point.
Huh. Yeah, that's good. Vicki, you had just written recently about scarcity versus abundance, and that in order to say yes, you have to say no. And in order to be abundant with some, you have to be scarce with others. It's basically just taking care of your resources. Isn't that right?
Yeah. And sometimes where you realize that you're constricted and your resources are limited, that's what sparks creativity, right? So I don't mind scarcity at all, because what I think a lot of people though is they confuse scarcity with survival, right? So like I'm in survival mode, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I like it when my resources are limited, and I got to be more creative to expand.
Well, look at this. When you take it to an extreme and you have people that are hoarders, let's call this person.
Are you looking at my bookcase?
No, I'm thinking of myself. Let's just say that this person is Brad Johnson, and so he's a hoarder. And but when you have 1 million of something or whatever, and then you're not even really using it, and it does you no good. But if you need a bookshelf, like you said, if you've got some books and you don't even have a bookshelf, as opposed to a hoarder that might have shelf upon shelf upon shelf upon shelf, and someone doesn't even have a bookshelf, they're going to go, I bet I could use these couple cinder blocks and just put this board here, and that might do. You start thinking outside the box, because it served you a whole lot better to work with the scarcity that you had than versus the abundance. I think in America we've flirted and tried for years with abundance, and we've built bigger and bigger houses. Then all of a sudden it became in vogue to have people that are building these small homes, and people are like, wow, that's attractive because I'll have yet less to take care of. And it's like, absolutely. Now you can go outside and go on hikes and play in the pool, as opposed to always vacuuming inside your house.
You and I just put 4 wheels on it and drive it around the country.
That's right. RV time.
RV time. Oh my God, Jason, I can't even believe it. I don't know how long we've been talking, but you bring so much to the table. We've gone through marketing. We've gone through Facebook ads. I'm going to try that 3D photograph with or without the pig wrestling.
You have to grease them up. You can't have them
with. That's right.
And we got into outsourcing. I didn't expect us to go there today, but you brought up some really cool stuff today.
Thank you. My ADD can be a benefit sometimes.
I call it brilliance.
We've got a trifecta of it here, yeah. Well, everyone, we're thankful that you've joined us for Everyday Practices, but as you know, we've got one last question for Jason. Jason, this is a silly question, so back to the pigs. Bacon or eggs?
I like bacon, a little hickory smoked bacon.
Excellent.
Another bacon fan.
Actually, link sausage if you got it.
We'll count that as the non-egg option. Sure.
Yeah. I can dig on some swine sometimes.
Well, everyone, you all have a great day. We'll meet back with you next week for Everyday Practices. Vicki, Jason, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with Everyday Practices.